Good evening, and welcome to this workshop of Board of Education. Tonight, the board will hear updates from the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Mark Bedell, and his staff on the school system's technology initiatives. Tonight's workshop is open to the public, but no public questions or testimony will be taken. This workshop is being broadcast live on ACPS TV, which can be found on Channel 96 on Comcast and Astound, and Channel 36 on Verizon. High-definition broadcasts can be seen on Channel 996 on Comcast, Channel 496 on Astound, and Channel 1961 on Verizon. The workshop can also be viewed live on ACPS YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. Good evening, everyone. Dr. Bedell.
All right. Thank you, Madam President. We are excited today to present to the board and the community a workshop on our technology division update. As you know, there has been a lot that has occurred over the last several years, especially throughout the pandemic, that really required school districts to have to take a whole different look at how they conduct business as it pertains to IT. And so in Anne Arundel County, there's been a lot of work that's been done to enhance a lot of our infrastructure that has absolutely allowed for this school district, in my opinion, to thrive in this area. And what you're going to hear today is a lot of the advancements that have taken place over the last several years, in addition to some areas where we know we have some concerns that we have to work towards, but then what the future will look like as we continue to move forward with the implementation of Blueprint and the innovative things that we want to do, where we know IT will be a huge component of those conversions. So for that, I'll pass it over to our Executive Director over IT, Michael Borkowski.
Good evening, Dr. Tobin, Mr. Silkworth, members of the board, and Dr. Bedell. For the record, I am Mike Borkowski, and I serve as Chief Information Officer. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you this evening to highlight our amazing team and how we serve our students, staff, and the community. The mission statement listed here has been our compass for the last several years. Our mission will evolve and align with the new strategic plan that is slated for implementation in the 24-25 school year. Here is the current technology division organizational structure. We are currently working with human resources on modernizing job descriptions and creating a new organizational structure that will enable us to provide more efficient and effective services to our customers in the future. One area to note, our former senior manager of telecommunications and business services, and now you don't see the box here, because that position was actually reclassified upon retirement to be the lead of the new project management office. This is something that was highlighted in the Gibson audit, and I firmly believe that as an organization, we need to take a project-based approach to everything we do, not only in IT, but as an organization as we go forward. The next two slides are a small sampling of the inventory services data we capture. As you see here, and I like to start out with this, we currently have 77 technology support technicians. Those positions are 10-month employees. They are in our schools when our teachers are there during the school year. Normally they start a week before teachers get back and stay a couple of days afterwards, but their job is to really keep the technology up and running in our schools. So if you look at it though, 77 doesn't equal 130. So that's a challenge for us as we go forward. So that'll be something that in the future we have to address, especially with the implementation of more summer programs. Blueprint obviously is going to add to our workload, and other initiatives that we haven't even dreamed up yet. Again, we're getting ready to go through a new strategic planning process, but I really want to state publicly that our technicians do an amazing job, as well as our support specialists, as well as the rest of our staff. Albeit, as Dr. Bedell called us, I think small but mighty. So here are some numbers to kind of back that up. So when we look at, as of May 16th, we support 246,104 devices. That averages out to be about 3,196 per technician. Now, all schools are not created equal. So when we look at our high schools, you have a much larger number, as opposed to, you would think our elementary schools would have a lesser number, but go out to Piney Orchard and some of our other schools, especially Title I schools. So again, when you put numbers out there, they can, kind of look one way on paper, but when you actually get out there, they definitely have a different meaning. So I'd like to also state that we support students and staff as well. So, when you look at devices, you look at software, you look at whatever is out there, don't forget about the people. So, our techs do an amazing job in the schools again. And I'd like to highlight the really good relationships we built with our principals, our department chairs, our staff in their schools, the support services, the custodians. I mean, it's a true teamwork effort. Some additional numbers to put out there. So for this school year so far, and again, as of May 16th, we have deployed 5,158 staff laptops, 29,468 student Chromebooks, 3,354 school-based lab desktops, and 2,190 teacher docking stations. Now, I get questioned all the time, and I want to clarify, we still have desktop labs in our schools because we have programs that require additional computing power that the Chromebooks do not provide. Larger screens, more processing, more memory. Again, we look at, the Project Lead the Way programs is a perfect example of that. So our desktop labs are still out there and they're still used within our schools quite often. We also use our labs for online testing, especially when students show up and either their Chromebook is not with them or that it may be in for repair. In regards to our staff, so far this year since July, we have answered over 274,871 overall service requests. Now, service requests can be anything as small as, hey, I need a laptop charger, or I need a new data dashboard. So it goes anywhere in between. Of those requests, 13,706 have been for Chromebook repairs. And I included, and I'm not going to read to you, you can read for yourself, but I included by level the numbers that we have so far. But one thing I do want to point out, and before really diving into the numbers, is a change that was made over the less than a year, since July of 2022. We started to outsource our Chromebook repairs because our technicians were actually doing the repairs themselves. Some of it in their schools, some of it we had to actually bring our techs out of the schools to the Corcoran Middle School Repair Center. And that, again, when we talk about efficiency and effectiveness, that was not really efficient and effectiveness or effective. And it also really impacted our services we provide to our schools. So we did make that decision to do that, and it is so far worked out very well. One thing as well to note, since January of 2020, we have spent over $3 million on Chromebook repairs to be able to make sure our students have devices in our hands to meet the educational needs. So far this year, we've spent over $1 million since July. In regards to major accomplishments, I have listed here, I guess under major accomplishments is something that I'm very proud of. Over the last year, I really feel like we have turned the corner and become a strategic partner throughout AACPS. Prior to the pandemic, the technology division was really considered a break-fix organization. And this was something actually that was highlighted within the Gibson audit as well. So upon my assuming this position just over a year ago, I made it my number one goal to get out there and to meet a lot of folks that, I've been around for a while that I didn't know or didn't even get a chance to really work with, and also for my staff to get out and to really find out, what really is driving in regards to technology needs in our different areas, and how can we better partner with our different organizations to make sure that we're meeting our needs. The goal was, though, is we wanted to be able to work with our customers to get the yes. And that was not really what, in talking to our customers, they felt that our division really was focused on. You've heard a lot over the last couple of months about the Be Present campaign. So on the front end, what you'll see is you'll see a lot of folks signing up, in our schools to be able to help, fill the gaps in and really develop relationships with our students and our families. On the back end, of course, what we have to do is we have to be able to onboard these folks, make sure that, we bring them in, we get them processed and do all the things we have to do to make sure that the folks we put in our schools are appropriate to be there. So we've worked very closely over the last several months with Dr. Ashworth and her team. And I'd like to take just a quick minute to shout out there. She's done an amazing job. And, Dr. Bedell, I know coming from Kansas City, that was something you've done there. Dr. Ashworth's going to make it better. New hire onboarding has many technology dependencies. Whether it's user account creations for new users, device assignments, system access, or even product training, we're there to help. The HR Analytics Dashboard is another exciting initiative. We've only scratched the surface. Using new development platforms and methodologies, we now can provide much more insight into our human capital systems and our trends. You've received information from Ms. Cutchess in relation to HR. That data that has been generated for you actually came from these new systems. We have worked a lot over the last couple of years with Ms. Cutchess, and in the last year, we've made a lot of strides in regards to helping her team be able to harness the data to be able to, fill our staffing needs. It is no secret that school systems are under attack. Dr. Bedell was actually a victim of ransomware in Kansas City. Baltimore County and Fairfax County regionally have been attacked, over the last couple of years. But I would like to state that over the last year, we have fully engaged with the United States Cyber Command organization to help us implement security best practices. Now, this is not something where they just come in and they do their thing and they leave. We've developed a relationship to go forward with them. This is going to continue long beyond this year. The thing that is really exciting is they're bringing their best practice and knowledge in, and they're training our staff. So we're doing a lot of knowledge transfer there as well. We've been able to leverage a grant for this effort at no cost to the district. The opportunity was brought to us through our partnership with the Fort Meade Alliance. We were at the time the first school system in the nation to actually receive these services from US Cybercom. In regards to plan initiatives, the initiatives listed in the next few slides are intended to demonstrate how we are preparing to align ourselves with the new strategic vision. Some of these initiatives have been planned for some time. Some of them are fairly new. As our new strategic vision evolves, we will pivot to meet those needs, and we've shown we've done that over the years. The student and staff device damage reimbursement model needs work. I know that as board members, you've heard from your constituents. We've heard from them too. So we are actually bringing stakeholders together, not only to look at what is fair and equitable within our district, we're also looking at what other districts are doing, not only around the state, but also nationally, to see how folks are dealing with this growing issue. And it's been going on for a while. We hope to be able to have a recommendation to Dr. Bedell and his cabinet soon for consideration, and hopefully implemented sometime over the next several months. Another thing I'd like to highlight is in regards to the automation of the school incident response system. Now, this is something that if we do it right, it's going to have a great impact, positive impact on our schools. Because when you're in our schools and an incident occurs, the first thing is, what form do I fill out? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to streamline that so that basically our school staff can go into one portal, and then based on some criteria that they enter in, it'll actually go and help them fill out the forms effectively. Also, we have this data already in other systems, so why key it in again? So again, trying to become more efficient and effective there. I'd like to point out the work again by Dr. Maisha Gillens and her team. We have a lot of folks. We have folks that are school-based that are part of this. We have folks that are central office-based that are part of this, and from different divisions. So as mentioned before, student device damage is a major concern, and I presented some numbers earlier on. We not only by just looking at a device damage reimbursement model will we help here, we're also looking at new devices. So we're looking at, hey, the Chromebooks that we have, can we pour a bottle of water on it and will it still work? Actually, there are devices out there to do that. And so we've been investigating those. And when we're looking at our damages, what we're seeing is, mainly screens and keyboards are the major things, but who knows what happens. I remember a few months ago where, we had a situation down at one of our schools where an unexpected rainstorm happened. Students had their Chromebooks with them. We had 29 damaged Chromebooks because of just torrential rains. Things happen. Accidents happen. Damage happens. And so what we're trying to do is trying to figure out a way to get out in front of this. Again, this is not an AACPS issue. This is an issue all around. The online student enrollment system is a requirement of Blueprint. And I remember last week I was talking to Dr. Bedell about this, and he was amazed that we actually built one. And so the core system actually has been developed, and it's up and running right now. We actually will work to enhance the system in the future as needed. Right now, there's a lot in the news about artificial intelligence. We are taking a wait-and-see approach to the market and will work with our stakeholders to ensure that any AI technology implemented by AACPS will be safe and appropriate. Where we see this being helpful in our own division in technology is by the use of chatbots. Now, I will tell you on a personal note, while I'm a technology person, I did have to call Verizon the other day, and using their chatbot was not all that great of a user experience. So, our hope is before rolling this out that, we're going to get this right. But that's a good example in regards to, where AI can actually be of use. In the coming months, we will be establishing 2 new committees, a data governance committee and a technology steering committee. Now, they do different things. In regards to data governance, obviously what we're looking at, because we have a lot of new folks that are coming into our organization and a new organizational structure that is coming into play, we need to look again at making sure that we have identified the right data owners, system owners, and that we have all of our business process and rules for managing and sharing our data. So this is something that we've done work on, but we're going to take it to a new level. The second one is the technology steering committee. Now, when you look at technology, a lot of times people will say, well, technology needs to have its own committee and stand on the side. I don't believe in that. I believe that it has to be in our DNA as we go forward. It has to be part of our new strategic plan. The steering committee, though, the way I see it is, it's taking the vision and how are we going to implement it. So it's involving our stakeholders unlike we've ever done before. I'll give you a perfect example. It's something that I'm really looking forward to, and that's in regards to a unified communication platform, where right now we have phones, and some of our phone systems are 25 and 30 years old. There's really never been any desire to really upgrade the phone systems. But then I'm looking out and I'm seeing, well, we have intercom systems, and now they're becoming IP-based, so network-based. Well, why can't I use voice over IP and use the IP network to be able to drive not just our phone system, but also our bells, our clocks, the other systems, the intercoms, and allow us to be more mobile. Voice over IP is one of those things where, in a school, you may have to call to get a technician to come out and move your phone. Now, we can just pick our phones up and move them. We need to be more of a mobile organization. Going back to the pandemic, one of the things we did, and a lot of people didn't know, I guess they didn't know that it was a big lift for us, is we installed cell phones on people's laptops and allowed them to actually work from home, transferring their phone numbers from here to their home. So this is taking it to a different level. We do that right now with Google Classroom with our teachers. Google Meets and Google Voice. One thing I'd like to highlight here is in regards to what we call our enterprise resource planning. Those of us here know it is our budget, our finance, and our HR system. If you've ever used it, it's a little bit old. But it pays people, it pays our vendors, but we have challenges. And if you read the Gibson audit brings out some of the deficiencies and shortcomings of the system. We are looking to upgrade our system as we go forward. So that's going to be an effort that is going to be done over the next couple of months. In fact, we are actually working right now on doing business process reviews to make sure that our current system, if we migrated to the new version with the same vendor, that we will actually not only be able to do our current business, but also that we can fold in some of the business areas and gaps that we have right now. Otherwise, we may have to look for a new system. So the other thing is in regards to customer relationship management system. I'd like to highlight here because if you've ever put a call into the help desk, you use either Remedy or Kinetic as the backend system, the My Support portal. We want to grow that. Again, not only for technology, but ultimately, hopefully, make it as the model throughout the organization so that all of our support functions will flow through one system, and we can go ahead and get the data and analytics in regards to how we are efficiently and effectively managing our business as a whole. Blueprint will require us to expand our technology ecosystem to the Anne Arundel Community College as well as the charter schools. Now, we work with them right now, but it's painful. And if you talk to them, they'll tell you it's painful. You talk to us, it's painful. So we are working now, and we're going to continue to work in the future to make sure that it's easier for our folks, specifically our students, when they're moving between the different environments. So we actually had a major breakthrough last week in regards to one of the systems that we've been working since October to try to get online for a new course that's going to be offered coming up next school year. So happy to report that we've been able to satisfy that. But the good part is, and this is what I've told the team, I'm glad to have had the issue we had, because what it has done for us is highlighted the fact that we really need to be focused and forward. The community colleges that are developing their courses, they understand now they need to integrate us into their planning process. For us with charter schools, when we are developing what we are doing, we need to make sure that our charter schools can have access to our systems that they use. As you've seen in this short presentation tonight, the technology division is more than just a break-fix infrastructure organization. We are highly talented, efficient, strategic, and caring, and we are ready to be part of the journey to become great. So I'd like to close out with this, because the Gibson audit, actually stated this about the technology division. And so the Anne Arundel County Public Schools Technology Division is very responsive to the organization, always stepping forward to satisfy the requested programs and departments and to provide a robust technology infrastructure. This was 2020's words. Think about it. What I talked about tonight goes way beyond this. So we are poised and ready to go, and are very energized under our new leadership, and look forward to looking forward together and serving AECPS in the future. So with that, I'd like to open up for any questions you may have at this time.
Excellent. Thank you very much. As is our standard at Sea Lights, I'm just going to go around in the roll call order, give everybody an opportunity. 2 questions. If you have more, we'll do it in the second round, but I think there was a lot of information here, so thank you very much. So we will, according to the order I have here, we will begin actually with Ms. Corkadell.
Seems like we flew around that dais.
Yeah.
Just yesterday. Anyways, I do have 2 quick questions. The first, I'll try to go in order. And the first is slide 12, when you started talking about the opportunities of what could be next. When I was at, and I think it was at the Equity Symposium. I could be wrong, because there was a lot of different events. But one of the things, they had a panel up there at this NSBA event that talked about how to address some of the digital divide, particularly in rural communities, because it recognize, the vast majority of school districts are not Anne Arundel County size, right? And what was intriguing to me was that they were talking about the necessity now, because of money predominantly, to put students on buses for longer, and that some kids are exceeding that. We'd like to be in the 35 or under, ideally for the health and et cetera, et cetera. And I got to thinking about some of our routes that we may not be able to cure this year for them. And one of the suggestions was to put the Wi-Fis that we were using, those mobile Wi-Fis that we were using during COVID, onto the buses, and to develop a safety protocol associated with it. And there are probably models out there, if they were giving us a panel on it, to allow us to safely give permission for the students to get some of their work done. And I think in the high school ranks, and when I look at some of my district, for example, I think that may be something of value to add. And to even have that ability in future out years, when we can start stabilizing some more of our blueprint things, to make that available, because we're always one accident away from every peninsula, up and down. There's like 5 total in our county. Lots of shoreline, lots of bottlenecks all the time. So I just wondered if that is something of an opportunity to explore.
That sounds like a
And
great
that
topic
works.
for our new technology steering committee.
There
How
you
about
go. I love steering committees because they're more active, they're more live, they're not
Mhm.
static. So kudos on that. And then my second question was, you talked about doing assessments on all of the end user softwares. And I presume it includes the whole district. So I would presume that, but I don't want to. So my question is, does that include board docs and how we as a board share? Because we have great technology now at our fingertips to make it easier for the staff to interface and share information with the board. And it is critical for us to do our job to exchange that information. So is that something that is included in the inventory? Because it is a core vital system of continuity of governance.
And it's interesting because when Board Docs was rolled out many years ago, I was actually here and I was responsible for rolling out Board Docs. So
And I know
And-
they have changed,
Sure.
even just like, it seems almost every year they are now updating it and updating it. And regardless of what, enhancements we choose to use as individual members, the overall platform in and of itself is very aged.
Right.
And could be subject to security breaches externally, I would presume, because they're no longer supporting that stuff.
So if my memory,
Yeah.
is still
And
good.
does it still work? I don't want to
I-
presume
yeah.
any one vendor. I just want to point out that, that we have a system.
Sure.
And should we be assessing its value to us, and then how we can better operate?
So years ago, when Board Docs came to us, it actually came as a requirement of the board office. So if the board chooses or wishes to go down that road, we'll be more than happy to sit down and talk about requirements, and gaps and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I guess my question is more driven to, are we going to get assessed? Because it seems to me, at the very least, at the security level and some of the other things, that in how we integrate with staff would be prudent. Or no.
It's not on our list right now, but it can be added to it.
Well, I don't want to make
It's, again, I have
wouldn't
to
make a
defer
decision
to
for the
the
board
board
or the
president.
superintendent on that, but
You know,
I would suggest that if we're doing assessments and we're going to be getting some new technology in-house and how we operate, we may want to take that as an advantage, because it seems to me that would be a lot less expensive and a lot more efficient. But
We'll definitely talk about it as a team.
yeah, I
and
just
see,
wondered.
because you don't want to have systems that are modern, and then you have other ones that are antiquated, and now they can't talk to each other. So I don't think that we would, in any recommendation, move forward where we know now we have systems that can't talk to each other because of one being advanced over the other. So we can definitely talk about that.
Yeah. I just want to make sure we're all in pace because the whole world needs to move, not just portions of
Right.
it.
So noted.
And then I don't have one other question. I just want to thank you for the thorough presentation. This is exactly helps us form our strategic planning for how we prioritize our budget, which starts just in a few short weeks, folks. Where we start that process all over again. So having current information is greatly appreciated. Seeing us move forward in a constructive way, and I think a proactive way, and well poising us to be those leaders and go to. I think there's no good reason why technology cannot be part of that conversation. And so as we move forward, I look forward to seeing some of the projected costs once you guys realign everything and come up with, I'm looking forward to seeing the ideas to save us some money. And then what those new projected vendor costs are going to be looking like over the next several years for our planning purposes. Thank you guys so very much. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you. That takes us to Ms. Schulheim.
Yes, thank you so much for this presentation. It was fantastic, and I appreciate the work that you and your team do every day.
Thank you.
In fact, I just emailed not long ago about my daughter's own Chromebook that finally took a dive today. Yeah, it wouldn't. She's had it for a while. I don't think it's ever been replaced, and it just wouldn't fire on while she was at. Yeah.
Yeah,
We had a conversation.
yeah, we were just talking about that.
Yeah. So anyway, but anyway, back to my questions. I think I missed it, but I want to go to the slide 10 about the optional insurance offerings.
Yes.
That interests me a great deal. You know, I hear from parents and students all the time. Well, they build me X, Y, or Z. You know, this would be a great planned out avoidable feature should we choose to go down that road. Do you have anything more to share about that?
Absolutely. Tomorrow, I actually have a meeting with staff, risk management and procurement to look at an available contract to us. It's being used by a neighboring school district to do exactly what we're trying to do. And that is provide an optional device insurance plan that's by year, where the family or the staff member would go sign up online and handle their business. But on the back end, that when the device is repaired and it goes to our repair facility, same vendor, the vendor checks, and if for some reason, you know, the device is not under warranty, we'll receive a bill. If it's under warranty, they'll actually bill the insurance provider. And so that takes us out of the mix altogether in regards to that. You talk about efficiency, and again, it's another area. So it's all handled on the back end, you know, for us. And it's just like the repairs that we currently do. It's just who's actually paying the bill. Now, you're going to ask me about cost.
I am.
So I already knew it. So right now, what we're looking at is between $25 and $30 a year for a Chromebook, and between $55 and $60 for a laptop right now.
Well, that's well worth it, you know, for a year, as opposed to the sticker shock a parent might face when a student has a whoops. With their Chromebook.
Now, what I will tell you is the term is accidental damage. So and we've seen damages where, you know, folks will literally shoot a paint gun through it, or, you know, throw it on the roof. That's not accidental.
No,
it's not accidental.
That's intentional.
But, you know, those things, but, you know, in those gray areas, you know, obviously, you know, the device will be covered.
Yeah.
So.
Or in this case, if a device after some years just doesn't fire on for whatever reason and is otherwise well cared for.
Right.
Know?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And the fact that when the Chromebooks were procured and up until now, we only buy a 1-year warranty on it.
Oh, wow.
Because financially it's just not worth paying the extra money, you know, to extend the warranty. Now, what our current vendor has done for us is added the second year for the warranty. So we get a year plus a year. But still, as we go forward, that's something we have to look at, obviously.
Well, thank you for that. I don't think I have any other questions. And, again, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for this. This is wonderful.
Yeah, I just want to caveat one thing. And the prices I gave you,
Mhm.
those are based on what the prices of the other district that we're really talking to and really trying to learn from them. Obviously, it's all subject to whatever the negotiation is from our side here.
Of course, and
Yeah.
like we do on so many other contracts, piggybacking, I suppose, would be an option.
That's exactly.
Trying
Yeah,
to
and there's
leverage
already a
that.
contract for it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you. Mr. McGrath.
So I was just wondering, and this might be a bit too much in the weeds, and if it is, just let me know, and I would be fine to get like a follow up. I was just wondering, the $45 price tag we're getting for paying back the Chromebook charger. I was curious as to where we're getting that, because at least a few students come up to me and feel like, of course we're not, but they feel that we're cheating them somehow because they can get it off of $10 of Amazon. So could you just give me something that I could give them just so? Because I know we're not running a side business on Chromebook chargers. At least I don't think so.
No.
But
And again, it gets back to what I talked about earlier, is we have to level set. Our rates have not changed. We haven't done anything to kind of look at the rates and changing them, and that's what we have to do. Our whole thing is whatever charger we get we have to make sure it doesn't violate the warranty of the device if it's under warranty or anything, and also is the appropriate charger, because not all chargers are created equal. So you may see something for $10 from Amazon. Well, it may not be high quality, and it winds up destroying the machine. So yeah, we're looking at that across the whole reimbursement program.
Is that it, Mr. McGrath?
so sorry. Thank you.
No
All
worries.
right. Thank you. Mr. Silkworth.
Thank you, President Tobin. So first, I'd like to thank Mr. Borkowski and his staff for this great presentation and everything that you've done, have done, and will continue to do. So for me, technology as a teacher was an overhead projector, mimeograph machine, and maybe a tape player. And my first computer was a Radio Shack model
TRS-80.
80 Model 1.
Mm.
And actually, I think the only thing that it was able to do was able to play chess.
I played Hangman, but okay.
Well, I
Just
played
so you
chess,
know.
and I tell you, I was able to beat that model. So, but in any event, very interesting presentation, and a couple of things. I took a few notes. I think you said 77 schools,
77 support technicians across 130 schools.
but there were a large number of schools with no TSTs.
Well, what we do is we share them amongst the elementary schools.
And that's what I kind of
Yeah.
thought was
if
happening.
I didn't clarify, I'm sorry for that.
And that in itself would have to be a challenge. And it made me think of the fact that, as I recall, in our building when I was at North County High School, there were quite a few of our teachers who were very qualified and could have been TSTs.
Right.
And so I assume, and I know at North County, that's the staff used them when they didn't have access to other TST. But in any event, there are students who are qualified to be TSTs. And you mentioned offering students apprenticeships and maybe internship opportunity. That's interesting.
Can I expand upon that?
Sure.
So we actually interviewed our first student. We're working through the process right now of hiring them on to come in and actually give us a different view from a different lens of our images, like of the environments we set up for students. Because obviously they're developed by adults for students. So we want to actually get students in to kind of help us, improve the overall user experience. In this one case, the student's a cybersecurity student. So we're hoping to take advantage of that as well. With one of the big challenges we have in regards to using students, obviously, especially with our laptops and devices, is the PII, the secure data, the confidential data. So what we're trying to do, and I've talked to Dr. Bedell a lot about this, and I said, I really need next school year to develop this, but really try to figure out a way to bring our students in to be able to give them meaningful opportunities for internships, not just sitting there and fixing a damaged Chromebook, right? Because some students, that may be what they go into, that's fine, but a lot of our other students are coming and they're saying, hey, I want to be a project manager. I sat and watched Miss Howard here and talking about the project management courses they're going to be offered. You can guarantee the next day I was already talking to her saying, hey, next year when you start rolling these kids on through, I want them, because I'd like to be able to get them involved with school-based projects that we have to help out. Hey, it'd be great, South River High School. Let's let a student from South River run the refresh program for South River High School. And we could teach them not just the project management side, but the financial side, the contract negotiation side, the full business side of what we do. Because my job is all about business. It's really very little technical, right? It's business, data privacy, all those things that we have to do. So again, being able to afford our students that opportunity would be great.
Oh, I totally agree with that. And I also did, I did make a note about the partnership with the U.S. Cyber Command and the Fort Meade Alliance. I think that is absolutely marvelous. So now I will say, I was happy to hear you say that you need to take a look at your damage reimbursement model, that it needs work. I would suggest to you that we have had some concerns brought to us, but I have every confidence that you'll do that. And you must be one of Dr. Bedell's favorite guys, because he's clearly a data guy.
Yeah, when Dr. Bedell's in the building, Jason Dykstra and I hide because he's coming.
It's kind of hard. Well, I'm not sure where you're located, but I know where Jason is. And so,
Jason in particular. I've run through his office a couple of times, but yeah, it's not good. Jason being right around the corner from us.
I know.
Once again, thank you
Thank you.
so much. This was great.
So thank you. I'd like to add a couple of comments and questions. Thank you for expanding on the student apprenticeship and internship opportunities. I was going to ask you about that because I think that's ripe for all sorts of opportunities for our students and for you and for this division. And I would just add to what you were talking about, the example of a student running a refresh program in their high school. I think having students take some of the input from students is very valuable too, about what's working and what's not working. And what, as Mr. McGrath brought up his question, there are a lot of very reasonable questions that students have based on their interactions with technology individually, and not as a system as large as ours, and also not with necessarily the security concerns that we have. And I should say my husband works in cybersecurity, and I've been taught there is no privacy anymore, but there is security. So I'm delighted to hear that. I also wanted to ask further about the optional insurance offerings, and this may be a question for you, this may be for Dr. Bedell. Certainly in my district, I have a number of students, families for whom that 25 or 30 would not be affordable. And so I'm curious as to whether or not we have or will have something along the lines of the kind of waivers that we have for everything from, I don't know, IB exams and so forth, where students can apply.
Yeah, let me answer that one. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we, in my previous school district, offered insurance for families who could afford it. Fortunately for us, we were able to work with philanthropy to also be able to offset for families who couldn't afford it. So, being that we had a lot of wealth in Kansas City, that was one of the greatest equalizers. I think for us, we will continue to take a look at grants, and as we get ready to move forward with some of the recommendations that you all will approve on Wednesday, taking a look at our tiered model approach and figuring out how do we make sure that we take into account the income constraints and all of those things. I mean, we're not, if you can't pay it, you just can't pay it. And we recognize that. But I think being able to have some kind of tiered model around how we support certain schools could also allow for us to look at budget allocation a little bit differently to help control for some of those variables too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm concerned, obviously, that we not increase inequities.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I mean, we've said this multiple times. Our ultimate goal, and when we build out the strategic plan, that first bullet of equity is also to make sure that we have not created any internal inequities because of decisions that we've made. So our goal will always be to not commit any further harm to children who are already in very harmful situations. So that I wouldn't let that be an issue of concern, President Tobin.
Thank you. I also wanted to applaud and to thank you for the work with U.S. Command. Obviously, cybersecurity is something that routinely keeps superintendents and board members up at night. And I've always thought that we have a particular advantage in where we are located. So I'm very, very happy to hear not only that we've had that initial work with U.S. Cyber Command and training, but that will continue I presume, into the foreseeable
Absolutely.
future, because this is boxing its shadows that will go on for a very, very long time. So I'm delighted to hear that once again we are a leader among systems in the country. And I believe that is pretty much what we had. Again, as Ms. Corkadell mentioned, obviously, we hope to be updated. And, as things emerge, obviously, there are positions. You mentioned, one last thing. You mentioned when we looked at the initial 77 support positions that's far away from 130, right? Are those positions that are unfilled, or are those positions we don't have currently?
No, we have those positions, and at any one point in time, we may have 5 vacancies because
Right.
we have folks that leave us. And again, I'm going to go back to the fact that they're 10-month employees.
Yeah.
So they can go get a 12-month job making, I guess, 700 or so hours more,
Yeah.
of a wage. That's a big difference. So
I mean,
that's a challenge.
given that this is obviously a hard area in which to hire in an environment, I would presume in an
Yes.
environment where it's hard to hire a lot of people for a lot of things. I would presume we continue to do the analysis, because it's critical to have these positions. If something like a 12-month FTE would make more sense and would afford us a kind of stability that maybe we're a little fragile on, given the 10 months. So it's just, I'm assuming, given everything you've offered us, that you're looking towards that. But that's just something I would think is worth a look if we find ourselves really having trouble filling those positions. That's all for my questions. I'll ask my colleagues just a quick go around if there are any additional. Ms. Corkadell shaking her head, Ms. Schalheim, Mr. McGrath, Mr. Silkworth. All right. Well, that does it. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Mr. Borkowski. That was a terrific presentation and tremendously helpful to us, and I'm sure the public. So
Thank you very
thank you,
much.
and thank you to your team.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you all.